Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Ravens fell at home to the Philadelphia Eagles and now are looking up at a lot of teams in the AFC playoff race. Also, the 49ers' slim playoff hopes took a big hit in a blow-off loss to the Bills in a blizzard. Plus, why not the Steelers in the AFC? Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
One of the marquee matchups of the weekend, the Baltimore Ravens against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Ravens jumped out to an early 9-0 lead. Philadelphia evened at 14-12 at halftime, holds on to win 24-19. Justin Tucker misses a pair of field goals in the second half. Kevin Ostreicher from Locked On Ravens joins me now. And Kevin, I feel like we have to start there because we're talking about the kicker of his generation, and he has looked like the kind of player who, if his name was not Justin Tucker, in any other set of circumstances, we'd be talking about Baltimore needing to go find someone else if they want to be anything in the postseason.
Oh, they would already have done it. It would have been a month or two ago that they would have made that change. And, you know, John Harbaugh after the game said that they have no plans of moving on from Justin Tucker, that it wouldn't be smart to do that right now. But Tucker's a player that, yes, you know, the historical accuracy, you know, I've come on here multiple times with you, Peter, and called him the greatest kicker of all time, which I still believe is true. But this season, he's been one of the worst kickers in the league. He's missed 10 kicks this season, including 3 of them against the Eagles, an extra point and 2 field goals like you talked about. And he's actively cost the Ravens 2 games, if not more, this season. Pittsburgh misses 2 kicks and a 2-point loss. And then obviously this game, if you want to play the numbers game, in other words, the late garbage time touchdown at the end from Lamar to Isaiah Likely, but 5-point loss. Justin Tucker leaves 7 points on the board. So we're far past the conversation with Justin Tucker of, oh, well, you know, a lot of season left. We can figure it out. Ravens will come off their bye. We're in week 15. We're 3 months into the season now. This is a trend. This is something where you could even say Justin Tucker misses all those kicks wide left. Well, he overcorrects on his final miss and tries to get it over, and he gets it too far over to the right side. And even the extra point late with 3 seconds left, he almost blanked that one off the upright. So it certainly is a concern point for the Ravens, and it's been a very weird year for kicking in the NFL in general. But a lot of the top teams have either seen their kickers bounce back, or they're finding contributions from elsewhere, or they just have really good kickers. Baltimore seems to be the anomaly there.
Yeah, and this is one of those games where, you know, they outgain the Eagles by 120 yards, 372 to 252, but can't finish drives. That's not just a Justin Tucker problem, Kevin. This is a Lamar Jackson, we got to put the ball in the end zone problem. And they were unable to do that. This has been a historical offense this season, but a couple times in some big games in the second half in particular, they have come up small. To you, what is the biggest reason why that's happening?
It just feels like if one thing goes right, the other doesn't. What I mean by that is, if the Ravens start fast, like we saw against Philadelphia here, they sometimes, in fact, most of the time, they kind of fall off and they either get too comfortable or they forget what they're doing and what has gotten them there. And then on the flip side of things, if they start slow, we've seen that kind of supercharge some of their best comebacks of the season where they end up finishing fast. They've had games this year where it's been a complete effort. Buffalo early in the year on prime time. You had Tampa and Denver. But it feels like we get one of those games every 3 or 4 games, and the other ones, it's like, well, if one thing is going well, the other doesn't. Lamar has had a couple of really rough games, first against Pittsburgh and now here against Philadelphia, where he's missed some throws and hasn't taken rushing lanes. Lamar Jackson's mom actually took things into her own hands after the game, and Lamar said that he was cussed out by his mom after the game by not taking the rushing lanes, and she was very upset about that. So maybe Mama Jackson is delivering the Super Bowl back to Baltimore with maybe her supercharged words there. But it is true where one of the things that makes Lamar Jackson so great is his ability both as a thrower and as a runner. And look, he's been on record saying he loves to throw the ball. He prefers to throw the ball, which, yes, absolutely, of course. But you're Lamar Jackson, and when there's an open green grass ahead, you got to take that opportunity when it arises instead of trying to force something that isn't there, or you just don't hit on throws in general, which was what happened today. So a lot of tough things for Baltimore's offense, but for as much head coach consideration as Todd Monken has gotten this season and all the conversations we've heard about that, I don't really know where it's coming from, because really his season has been, yes, the offense has been historical, like you said, but there's been far too many inconsistencies, and that's why this is a 5-loss football team, maybe not a 3 or 2-loss football team like some people would have anticipated with the stats he has.
Yeah, they could be a 5 or even a 6 seed in this AFC, given the way that they stand right now and the games that they still have left on their schedule. They have some critical head-to-head wins here, Chargers, Broncos, but already lost to the Steelers. They've got more of these division games left to go. This is not going to be easy down the stretch for them to. They're probably going to make the playoffs, let's be honest, but it's not automatic that they're going to get a convenient seed in all of this.
No. And honestly, in the AFC as it stands, Peter, I'm not sure there is really a convenient seed the way that this all
you're right about that,
because it's either if Baltimore wins their division, if they can come back and overtake Pittsburgh, well, all of a sudden, okay, you either probably have to play Los Angeles, who you did beat on Monday night, or he's got to go and play the Steelers again, and that's just been a nightmare for the Ravens. If you get a wild card seed, well, the 5 seed is pretty convenient because Houston just looks all out of sorts. They don't look like a good football team right now, so maybe that's what they should be gunning for. Maybe it is the 5 seed. They would take on Houston, but again, how confident can you feel in a football team that has one of the worst kickers statistically in football? And while their defense has figured it out, their offense has taken a back seat. It just feels like, all right, defense struggles early, offense is great. Now that we've had a 180 and now the defense is playing great and the offense is struggling, if they can get it back and have both playing well, that changes things. But again, we're 3 months into the season and the consistency just has not been there.
You can stay up to date all year on the Baltimore Ravens by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Ravens on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Bills dominated on Sunday night. Before we get to that, the Cavaliers were looking for revenge against the Celtics. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. You can place that $5 bet on Monday Night Football. The Broncos are 5.5-point favorites over Jameis Winston and the Browns. Or if you want to look ahead to a Thursday night showdown between the Lions and Packers, the Lions favored by 4.5. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Cavaliers proved human in their first loss of the season at Boston 2 weeks ago. Yesterday, however, Cleveland had the opportunity to seize revenge.
Today, the Cleveland Cavaliers on Sunday night beat the Boston Celtics 115-111. It was a come-from-behind win. It was a win that the Cavs got because Donovan Mitchell was awesome in the fourth quarter. There are a lot of things to point to as to why this Cavs team won this game, but none of them were more important. None of them were bigger than Donovan Mitchell, what he did in the fourth quarter. He had, I thought, what was a rather pedestrian first 3 quarters. His first half really wasn't good. He had a couple of shots in the third quarter, started to, I don't want to say break out of a slump, but he's not shot the ball well over his previous 5 games going into Sunday night. The last 5 games that he played in, which all came off with that rest game against Charlotte that he missed, he was shooting right around 30% from 3, and he just hadn't looked like himself. And then on Sunday night, that fourth quarter was one of the best quarters he's played in his time as a member of the Cavs. He had 20 points in the fourth quarter, was perfect on offense. He made all 6 shots that he took, 4 of which were 3-pointers. He made 4 free throws down the stretch of this game. And we can talk about how this game was closed out a little bit later on too. But Donovan Mitchell could not have been better in the fourth quarter against Boston.
Kirk Cousins, oh boy. He had a dramatic collapse against the Chargers, throwing 4 interceptions for the first time in his career in a 17-13 loss. Our Locked On host, Aaron Freeman, for the Falcons, did not, in fact, like that.
A chaotic day for Kirk Cousins with the Falcons dropping their third straight. I'm Aaron Freeman with Locked on Falcons. The Falcons lost another heartbreaker to the LA Chargers, 17-13, losing their third straight game and looking to do their best to blow their NFC South lead to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now that they're 6-6. It was a disastrous day for Kirk Cousins, who threw 4 interceptions, including a pick 6. The much maligned Falcons defense had their best game of the season, sacking Justin Herbert 5 times, holding the Chargers offense to 187 yards, a season low for the Falcons defense. But the Falcons are just going to have to find a way to regroup next week on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully Cousins' play will step up as he revisits his old stomping grounds. For more coverage of the Falcons blowing their playoff hopes, follow Locked on Falcons, part of Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
And Anthony Richardson saved the day for the Indianapolis Colts with a game-winning drive against the Patriots.
Somehow, some way, the Colts pulled this one out. They just won 25-24 at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough against the Patriots. They moved to 6-7 on the season. Don't even know if they deserve to win that one. Offensively, the Colts started out pretty well. Efficient football, ran the ball really well behind a really interesting new offensive line figuration. The defense, though, shame on them, really. They let New England have their best offensive output of the year. Pretty much every meaningful offensive stat was either first, second, or top 5 for New England in a single game. But the Colts' playoff chances are alive. This season seems like it's on life support if this is how they're going to beat terrible teams like New England. But they have won. We're going to have much more for you guys on our post-game show, Locked on Colts on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Bills might have all but knocked San Francisco out of the playoffs with their dominant victory last night. Our Locked on Bills host Joe Marino broke down Buffalo's blowout of Brock Purdy and the Niners.
The Buffalo Bills defeated the San Francisco 49ers 35-10 and improved to 10-2 on the season and clinched the AFC East division title for the 5th consecutive season. It's the first time in franchise history the Bills have won the division 5 years in a row. The Bills are the first team since 2009 to win the division with 5 games still remaining on the schedule, one of only 8 teams ever to do it. Josh Allen became the all-time leader in touchdowns for the Buffalo Bills. The Bills scored 30 or more points in 9 games this season already. That ties a franchise record. 10 wins in 12 games so far this year. Half of those wins by 21 points or more. This is the 6th consecutive season of 10 or more wins for the Buffalo Bills. Oh, by the way, this is their 7th win in a row. Folks, we are living in the good days of being a fan of the Buffalo Bills. And I would encourage you to not take one bit of this for granted. Now, there's more for this team to achieve. I understand we all want more. But take a moment to reflect and appreciate the era of Buffalo Bills football that we are living in. I mean, I just watched the Bills beat the 49ers 35-10 and did all the stuff that I just mentioned. And Josh Allen and Sean McDermott are making snow angels on the field for an ESPN interview. That's the last thing. I watched that before I hit record on this podcast. Are you kidding me? Fun. This is fun. We'll do the things that we do on the post-game podcasts. Things I liked, really. I don't have a whole lot I didn't like. We'll talk offense, defense, special teams. We'll get into what's next for the podcast, what's next for the Bills as we navigate this week and the coming weeks. But I want to keep talking about this offense. What a night for the offense. They score a touchdown on 5 of the first 8 drives of the game. A touchdown. The offensive starters didn't play a snap after the 12:31 mark in the fourth quarter. 372 yards of offense. Again, remind yourself, the starters didn't play essentially the last 12 minutes of the game on offense. 220 rushing yards. Over 6 yards per rush when you take away the kneel downs from Mitch Trubisky at the end of the game. Buffalo's offense goes 7 of 12 on possession downs. 4 for 4 scoring touchdowns in the red zone. It's a heck of a day for this offense. Super efficient throwing the football to go with that rushing production. Exactly the type of game you needed to play in those elements. Bills are built for it. They got the quarterback. They got the physical receivers. They got a deep stable of backs. They got a good offensive line. They got a big play defense. They're built for it. Nice to bring that West Coast California team. It's been 65 degrees all week in San Francisco. Come on. Come on to Western New York. Here's a bunch of snow. It's going to be in the upper 20s. Feels like it's in the teens. Come on over here in December. Let's play a night game and see how that goes for you. Come on, Miami Dolphins. Come on up. Come on up from South Florida. Let's play a game in December, see how that goes. Oh, you want to go to the playoffs? You got to come to Buffalo. You got to play in places like this. Bills have a team built for these moments.
You can stay up to date all year on the Buffalo Bills by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Bills on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Pittsburgh Steelers are gaining momentum in the AFC. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more near you. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. The Steelers won a shootout over the Bengals to keep their dreams of winning the AFC alive. Our Locked On Steelers host Chris Carter explains why objects in the mirror are closer to Kansas City than they appear.
You may be looking at a really good shot at a playoff seeding in the AFC. If you look at the conference right now, as we speak, right, or as I speak right now, excuse me, the Bills look to be destroying the 49ers, at least the last time I checked. Yeah, 21-3 in the third quarter. Doesn't look good for the Niners. The Bills looking like they might end up being the 1 seed in this year. All of the Chiefs, you can't knock them. They're 11-1. They're already, in the playoffs. But here's the thing. You look at the way the Bills are playing, the way the Chiefs are playing. The Bills could win out this season, and the Steelers wouldn't be able to catch them because the Bills only have 2 losses. However, if the Chiefs won every game but the Steelers game, the Steelers won out, the Steelers would take their place and would be the 2 seed. And if you're the 2 seed, right now you're playing a team like the Denver Broncos. Or if the Broncos fell out, then maybe it would be the Colts or the Dolphins. Those are the teams that you're fighting with right now. To maybe that those could be the teams that you end up having to play in the first round of the playoffs instead of if you finish, 4th in the AFC, then you have to face, maybe the Chargers or so. But I still think this is where the Steelers wanted to be. They wanted to be in a position where they were going to be able to fight at the end of the season. To be able to not just make the playoff, but host a playoff game. And they are legitimately there. And again, Russell Wilson standing up, being the guy that gets the offense going when they need to get the offense going, not just on an occasional, like, hey, they big busted coverage, we took advantage of it. No, they made solid reads, worked their way down the field, capitalized on it. And we've seen the offense carry this team. We've seen the defense carry this team. We've seen special teams play a big factor for this team. So many factors that are working for the Steelers right now, and that's what good teams do.
Truly, why not Pittsburgh? If you can win a game like they did against the Ravens, a knock them down, drag them out, I can't even speak, it was so physical kind of game. And you can go bar for bar with Joe Burrow and this Bengals offense. I know that Bengals defense cannot stop a runny nose with a beach towel. But if you can score with that team, and the Bengals had plenty of firepower, you can win a shootout with the Bengals when your defense is not at its best. Why am I supposed to believe there is anyone they can't beat in the AFC. The Kansas City Chiefs have not impressed me all season. The Bills have at times, but we've also seen them look lost. Josh Allen look lost. Why not Pittsburgh? And finally, college football witnessed an all-time classic last Friday night as Georgia Tech went on the road and took down number 7 Georgia to 8 overtimes. The Dogs were down 27-13 with less than 4 minutes to go in regulation before putting together 2 hurried scoring drives to tie things up, eventually winning 44-42. Not the result most fans were hoping for. However, it goes down as the second longest game in college football history, behind Illinois' 9 overtime win over Penn State back in 2021. You can't quite beat rivalry week in college football, can you? I'll plant my flag on that hill. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, can the Broncos cling to their spot in the wild card race? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.